for people who have no clue about what UX design is, how would you explain it?
It is about making products as easy to use, as fast to use, and as accurate as possible.
Majority of people on LinkedIn are completely faking it.
Yeah.
They will put a professional photo on their DP. They will put a very good bio to ChatGPT, and they don't know shit.
The entry-level market is very saturated. You'll be competing with thousands and thousands of people, and if you are, say, even a slightly better, it'll be easier for you to grab their attention. Let's say if I was starting today, learning how to produce experience design, the first thing I'll do.
So Chandan, my purpose with this podcast is to give a complete roadmap for the people who wants to start with UI UX design.
Wonderful.
So let's start with your journey. How did you get started?
Oh, sure. Wonderful. So I have a computer science background, and last year of my college is when we started a small agency. And this was back when native mobile apps used to be a thing. Now things are fading away. We are getting into PWAs and hybrid apps and whatnot. So during the last year of my college, the friend I started with, he is one of the best programmers I've ever worked with.
Okay.
Is crazy good, right? And when we thought of starting up, there was one skill gap, which was design. So I would code as well, but then since I knew Photoshop, I knew certain other Flash, all those. I don't know if people today remember those names or not, but those are the tools that I used to use. And we thought, okay, fine, there's something I can try my hands on. So I started doing that, and I started loving it. So I would code as well as design. And as we were running our company, we realized, okay, I have somebody who is an excellent programmer, and we have this void where design can also help.
Yeah.
And that is how we got into it. Like, you find an opportunity and you learn the skill. That's what entrepreneurs do. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got started. Initially, it was all driven by the problems I was able to identify. I have not been a crazy phone person. In fact, I owned the first smartphone that I used was in 2016.
Okay.
Right, and I've been designing since 2012. So I would use my friend's phone and other people's this thing, and that is how I started noticing the way people were using apps. Well, one of the first apps that I got interested in was WhatsApp. And this was 2012, it was just picking up. It had a lot of gaps. So I would speak with my friends, okay, you use this app. What are the things that you hope the app had? And they would tell me things like, performance is bad, or app doesn't have this feature, that feature, I wish it had this and that.
Right.
But then people were migrating from SMS to WhatsApp.
Okay.
So their benchmark was pretty low, right? So people were crazy about the fact that they could send messages to their friends without any cost. Like that was literally the value add. So the feature additions was secondary. Nobody was really thinking about, I hope it had this, it had that. Right?
Yeah.
But then when I started observing, I started realizing, okay, you know what, the app has this feature, but there were certain problems. Like first problem that I identified initially, there was no segregation between individual chats and group chats on WhatsApp. Later on, they introduced a different visual design to help you understand, okay, this is a group chat and this is a peer-to-peer chat, right? So that was a problem I identified, and I redesigned that I took screenshots of the application. I pulled the screenshots into Photoshop, and I started, utilizing the branding, redesigning the screen. I created a good case study out of it, and then I posted it on Behance.
Right.
Luckily, it got picked up, it got viral, it got featured by Adobe and a few other magazines, and that's when the initial traction started. And then that is when I realized, okay, you know what, I found this problem, and I figured out a solution, and I pitched it out. And that is, and then the cycle repeated, right? So UI UX, I call it UX design. I feel UI is part of UX umbrella, so I'll probably use the term UX design more than anything else. So UX design for me has been something about identify the problem first, understand why that problem exists, and then go after fixing that problem.
Right.
And then the cycle repeats. It doesn't matter what tool you use, what framework you use. The beauty of UX design is that the process itself is very fluid.
Right.
Unfortunately, and in fact, it probably happened with me as well. When new people come across this, right, they feel like this is the process. Like you go from A to B to C to D. It takes time for them to realize that you can go from A to D as well, right? And people start taking at UX design, looking at UX design as a very idealistic process. And that gets very difficult. It makes your proposition expensive.
Yeah.
It slows down your movement. So if you are somebody who's getting into UX design, wants to get into UX design, it's a wonderful field to be in. It is going to require a hell lot of work for initial few years. There'll be very little money. Right. So you have to be mentally, prepared for that. I cannot tell you how many times I have spoken with people who are trying to get into design, and I ask them, why do you want to get into design? They're like, I can't code. Right. So my friend suggested, or my brother suggested, why don't you try design? It's easy. Right. And then that just makes me feel sad.
Yeah.
I feel so the thing is that design looks very easy. Even today, I work with multi-billion brands.
Right.
And I do come across, pretty seasoned professionals looking at the work like, there's nothing complicated about it. I can do it in a weekend. So that is a good and a bad thing, because it makes it kind of attracts people.
Right.
The field attracts people because they feel there's some level of easiness to get into it, to be successful. But at the same time, people get into it with the right. They don't get into with the right motivations and mindset.
Yeah.
They get into it with an intention to I don't enjoy coding. I don't enjoy something else, so I'll try my hands on this particular thing. Right, just drawing rectangles on a computer screen. Right, and soon they realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
And that is when they get stuck.
Yeah, so let me cut you here. For people who have no clue about what UX design is, how would you explain it?
It is about making products as easy to use, as fast to use, and as accurate as possible.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
Of course, yes. Easy to use, something as simple as, so this is a story that I keep telling. I don't know how it is, how relevant it is to the generation today. But in 2007, when Apple came out with the first version of iPhone, they utilized a design philosophy called skeuomorphism.
Right.
What they did was they replicated the physical world objects into the digital world.
Okay.
Right. Hence, the trash app looked like a physical, trash,
like a dustbin.
Like a dustbin, right? The wallet app looked like a physical wallet.
Yeah.
So skeuomorphism is about that, making it easy for new people to adopt to a new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like people who are transitioning from feature phones to smartphones, you need some level of thread.
Yeah.
Right. Some connecting a bridge right, between how you work today versus how you are expected to work tomorrow. So skeuomorphism helps with that, and that is how you make things easy. Now the second thing is, how do you make things fast? Today, when you want to order something on Zomato, if you tap on say a button and you're made to wait for 5 seconds, you're annoyed.
Yeah, attention span is absolutely nil right now.
I will not take a name, but there's this very famous app out there, and people are crazy about this design. Every time I go to this app, even today, I'm utterly confused, and I am a designer. Right, I'm utterly confused on where do I find what I want to do with that. Right, the information architecture is pathetic. I still don't understand why people are crazy about it. Designers designers want to work with this brand.
Yeah,
and I hate it. Right, I understand the value proposition and all that, but they've made it so difficult for the end users to use the app, and that what's the point of having the app in its place? If people are not able to figure out how to use it, right? Or what is the But anyways, sorry. So you have to make sure that the app is easy to use. Right? It is doing what you promise the end users that it will do. Right. And the third thing was accuracy. If you go to Amazon and you type shoes, you see certain set of recommendations. Now let us say if you are a Nike person and you're not a Puma person.
Right.
If it shows you Puma, let's say first 20 results are just Puma, you'll be annoyed.
Yeah. I will leave the app immediately.
I don't find the brand that I love here, right? They will have the stock, but it is just that they probably would have screwed up the recommendation for you, right? And then you'll, as I said, you'll move to a different app.
Yeah.
Right. So making the response of the machine or the product itself as accurate as possible to the user's action is the third dimension of designing good products, and that is all design is about, right? So you have to make sure it is easy to use, it is fast, and it is accurate.
Yeah.
And everything else was.
Yeah. So to put it in simple words, to decrease the resistance of a person using the app. If I'm using Swiggy to order something,
Correct.
it should make my experience nice. It should make my experience easy to use.
Correct.
If it ऐसे ही 3-4 लोगों ने अलग switch add कर दिया, buttons add कर दिया, so मैं छोड़ दूंगा वो.
Correct.
Yeah. So how can someone learn UX design?
It is all about trial and error. So there are many different ways, right? The one I will talk about the one that has worked for me. Always look for a problem and get after solving it.
Right.
Do not overcomplicate things. Do not worry about, I can't go to secondary research unless I do primary research. Don't do that. I see so many designers making that mistake, right? They look at the process as a linear, progression. It is not a linear progression, right? So identify any problem that you find in any of the applications that you use. You use e-commerce, be it, right? You use, you want to go ahead with the WhatsApp-like application or anything more, probably more complicated. Look at it, learn what problems you find as a user, and don't stay limited to the interface. How a specific button looks is a problem statement.
Yeah.
But then, were you able to find the information you need when you need it is a larger problem, right? So try to look at the problem in multiple different dimensions. Look at the usability, look at the accessibility, and you will come across certain set of, say, 10 different things that are wrong with the product.
Right.
And then the way I went about it is, as I said, I started speaking with my friends. Like, hey, do you also use this app? Yes, I do. Can you tell me what do you feel about this app? Like, what are the problems you face? What are the features you think would be wonderful to have in this product? And they would tell you a lot of things. If you're starting up, try to speak to as many people as possible. Usually the standard is 6 to 10 people. But if you're starting up, go, it will not hurt you even if you go upwards of 20 people. Like, go and speak with them, spend 15-20 minutes. They'll give you a hell lot of data.
Right.
And then you look at that data. Okay, this is my observation, right? I need to redesign this product. You learn tools like Figma and SketchUp or whatever. I don't know if XD is still alive.
Right.
Whatever tool that fancies you, right? And then you start cracking at it, right? Initial few iterations are going to be pretty bad.
Right.
So don't take your design to your heart. Right? That's a mistake that even I made. Initially, designers treat their work as their own baby.
Right.
They can't look at it getting criticized and ripped apart. So get comfortable with that as soon as possible. Look at and focus on solving the problem that you identified.
Yeah.
Redesign the product, set up a nice prototype, create a case study, push it out on Dribbble, Behance, LinkedIn, and talk about how you have went ahead and tried to solve the problem.
Right.
And that's how you'll grab attention.
Yeah. So let's do one thing. Let's divide learning into two parts.
Sure.
One is theoretical learning for people who have no idea about what is UI UX. Can you share some resources where they can learn from?
Sure. As far as theoretical learning is concerned, so I follow this method, which may be slightly over-engineered, is I will, let's say if I was starting today, learning how to go with experience design, the first thing I'll do is I'll go to Google. You could go to ChatGPT also.
Yeah.
But I would go to Google. I'll type, what is user experience design. Most likely, the first few articles, the first thing that I rely on is Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Go to Wikipedia. You start scanning through all the hyperlinks that are there. They are the keywords, right? So when you start reading about user experience design, you'll find terms like usability, right? You'll find responsive design. You'll find technology, computer science, and whatnot, right? Whatever terms that are new to you, start reading about them. Reading should not take forever. It should not be like you have spent months just reading and watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So you have to balance your theoretical learning with practical knowledge as well as much as possible.
That's the problem with majority of people.
Yeah.
They are watching YouTube videos the whole day for 6 to 8 months and they don't do anything. They don't implement. So I follow this simple principle and I tell this to many people in my YouTube video as well. I create content around freelancing and agency business. So I tell them a method कि तुम theoretically भी सीखो, watch YouTube videos, but build a project side by side
Exactly,
and take feedback from people.
Exactly. Yes.
let's say you are watching a YouTube video at morning, then you can implement what you learned that at evening or night.
Right.
And then let's say you do it for around 1-2 months. After that, feedback is also very important.
Yes, 100%.
It can be कि आप कुछ भी कर रहे हो और आप खुश हो रहे हो, भाई मेरा UI UX बहुत अच्छा है. So what the next step would be is doing an internship or working under anyone and taking feedback. कि commercially आपका skill कितना viable है. So where can people find internships?
Finding internships in design, in my experience, is difficult. Because the expectation from design generally is high. If you are able to find an internship at a good company, then you're lucky.
Okay.
You will most likely find internship at smaller agencies where you will most likely be the first, designer or probably the second designer, and they are doing it just to save cost, which is okay, right? There are a lot of job openings. I have not applied for jobs, so I don't know how exactly where people will go. But I've seen job postings on LinkedIn and other different places. I remember there's one person who applied to me. So we receive hundreds of applicants. The last job posting that we did for senior UX designer, we got 800 applications.
Okay.
And the 800 applications just to my inbox.
Right.
The recruiter got a few, other senior designers got a few. So I would not be surprised if the number was upwards of 1,500.
Right.
And we have still not closed the position. So this particular person, and he did a wonderful thing, and I'm like the only person who has applied this way ever in my career. He sent me a LinkedIn message.
Okay.
He looked at our website and he picked a portfolio item. He recorded probably a minute-long video where he explained, what was wrong with some of the portfolio items and what he could do better. And while he was doing it, he was being absolutely clear that he may lack context of the problem, the way it was solved, right? So I found that pretty interesting because, see, when we interview people, there is going to be multiple different rounds of interviews.
Right.
The first round, what we do is a communication check. Right, how confident somebody is while speaking,
right?
How fluent in because we work with foreign clients, so we want English to be as top notch as possible. So what he did was, in that 1 minute video, he answered a lot of questions I had in my head. Like, he made it clear how he thinks, how he observes gaps, and how he communicates, right? And I could see him. I could see his facial expressions while he was speaking, right? So, and we got him on board,
right?
Right. So, extremely. I don't know if people do it nowadays, if that has become popular or not, I don't know. But I very rarely receive an application which is uniquely packaged.
Yeah.
People forget that when you are sending an application, you will have to understand, depending on how large the company is, they'll have hundreds of applications.
Yeah.
How are you going to stand out?
Yeah. This is very important because majority of people on LinkedIn are completely faking it.
Yeah.
They will they will put a professional photo on their DP. Yeah. They will put a very good bio to ChatGPT, and they don't know shit. So it's very hard for companies to filter out. And if you put in some efforts to stand out, like you said that he recorded a video, then you can easily get a job.
Yeah, you can.
Because majority of people are doing the same thing. Yeah. So if you put in some efforts, you can easily stand out.
Of course, yes.
So let's say if I am doing an internship, how much time would it take for me to become at least an average UI UX designer?
It'll depend on your practice. I've looked at design as mathematics. The more you practice, the faster you'll grow. I have seen designers with 7 years of experience, in a worse state than a fresher, right? They can't speak, they can't explain their own design. And I feel sad because I know they'll not be able to grow. Right. So if you're able to put enough practice, approximately a year is going to be good enough for you to reach a decent state.
Yeah.
As I said, the entry-level market is very saturated. You'll be competing with thousands and thousands of people. And if you are, say, even a slightly better, it'll be easier for you to grab the attention. This reminds me of a very good story. I was in last year of my college, and I was made to sit in a campus placement drive. And I still remember, so I go in, thousands of people, there are thousands of students. So I'm climbing up the stair, I turn around, and I look at oceans of people.
Right.
And the first thought that hit me was, why would somebody pay attention to me and not thousands of other people, right? So that is what happens. When you're working in a saturated market, you will have to work extra hard to be slightly, as I was saying, right? If you're living in a country where everyone is 5 feet tall, you are 5 feet 2 inch, you will be considered as the tallest person in the world, right? The difference that is required to stand out at the entry level is very low. That is unfortunate, by the way. That's not a good thing, but it is what it is.
Right.
So if you're able to figure that out through the communication example that I just explained about this person who applied, or anything probably more clever, you will simply be standing out.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't guarantee success, but you will have better chances for sure.
Yeah. And I won't even call it saturation because 80% of the people are at that starting level. So if you get through that ना, then फिर काम मिलना बहुत आसान हो जाता है. For people above that starting level, you keep on getting work, but payment मतलब कम पैसे में काम करना पड़ता है. एक बार आप उसके भी अगले level पे चले गए, then everything gets easy.
Correct. I've seen people making, people with 5-6 years of experience making upwards of 1 crore as a designer, as an individual designer, by the way, not as a design leader, right? So the money is huge.
Right.
Money is huge. We also pay very high salaries. But during the first few years, it's going to be hell.
Yeah.
People are going to rip you apart, eat you alive.
Right.
So if you have that patience, if you have that courage, which unfortunately I see a lot of designers today lacking, then you have a higher chances of becoming successful, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, as I said, if somebody is looking at your design and telling you this is the worst design I've ever seen, and by the way, I've got that feedback on my work. I remember clients sending me an email saying, Chandan, this is the worst design I have ever seen in my life.
Okay.
Right? And I couldn't sleep. I'm like, what the hell? I had literally poured my heart and soul into building it. So it takes time to learn how to take criticism, especially from non-designers.
Right.
If a designer is criticizing you, then that's gold, by the way.
Yeah.
No matter how egoistic of a person you are. But if a designer is criticizing you technically, it's gold. Right?
Yeah.
You should go after it. But if a non-designer is criticizing it, some level of ego will always come into picture. But as an intern, multiple different opportunities out there. Go with traditional job search approach. Find out agencies you want to work with, companies you want to work with, reach out to senior designers, figure out the right way to package your application.
Right.
Understand that person you have reached out to would have received hundreds of applications already. How will you make sure that you are standing out?
Right.
Go with that mindset. And then try it out. Highly likely you'll get the internship. But while you're getting it, depending on how desperate you are, and life situation can make anybody desperate, if you get a job at a company which is very small and they may not be able to pay you well, but they can give you access to an internet, access to a computer, access to a chair and a desk, that is money.
Right.
That costs money, right? Figma license costs, I think the lowest cost will be $15 a month.
Okay.
So if you're starting out as an intern, just to get a license, Figma is going to cost you money. So if somebody is paying for it, get the opportunity. And that's the worst case scenario.
Right.
I'm not in favor of not paying interns.
Yeah.
Right. If it doesn't matter what the skill is, if as somebody who employs people, if I get an intern, I still pay them.
Right.
We have a stipend, and it's a decent stipend. But again, as I said, if you're not able to crack any opportunity, if you get an opportunity where you can just practice on real life projects, get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
So if you are an intern, don't go for money at the start. At least for first 5-6 months when you are in the learning stages.
Yeah.
Once you learn the skills, then you can do freelancing, get a good job and all that things. But now I would like to touch upon the tools. Because when it comes to learning skills, many people, they are like, ये tool सीख लिया, अभी हो गया मेरा, अब मैं video editor बन गया, मैं अभी UI UX designer बन गया. But उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें होती है about the structure. For example, मैं video editing example ले लेता हूँ. Video editing में बहुत सारे लोग बस software सीख लेते हैं. कि I know how to edit on Premiere Pro, now I'm a video editor. तो how to understand the psychology कि ये बंदा अगर मेरे वेबसाइट पे आ रहा है तो ये जाएगा नहीं, ये stick रहेगा. So how to get better at design thinking?
Design thinking is a very interesting topic. It gets into, because it's very broad, right? So, but I'll bring the attention to product design specifically, right? you have to first of all understand who are these people who are coming to your product.
Right.
If it is a website, it is a mobile application. Who are these people? What are their income levels? What are their geographical locations? What are cultural differences? What language do they speak? What is the age, right? This is the data that you must have.
Right.
So if you know that your people who are going to come to your website are going to be working mothers, for example, that's your demography.
Yeah.
You have to have your content and the design according to that. See, design is a combination of multiple different things, by the way. It requires technology, it requires actual design, like putting things together, content, images, videos, all of those things have to fit together in order for it to work. So you have to first of all understand who these people are so that you can empathize with them. Start there, and then everything else will follow. You'll get into ideation, you'll get into prototyping, building, and then the iteration continues. That's how it is.
So let's say a person has learned how to do UI UX designing. He has done internship. He has 1 year of experience.
Correct.
So how much can he expect? For example, he's working in your company. So how much he can get paid?
Salaries are special. So last 2 years have been exceptional. In fact, I was speaking with somebody in my team yesterday. There's somebody who applied with us. He has 1.8 years of experience. He is making 24 lakh rupees a year.
Okay.
And he was expecting 32 lakhs.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he
With
has
1 year of experience, that is crazy salary.
and he has been looking for a job for 6-7 months now.
Okay.
He has not been able to find it. So last 2 years have been exceptional. I believe the salaries are soon. In fact, they have already come down to the level of 2018-19.
Okay.
So as a fresher designer, at a decent company, you will be making in the range of 3.6 lakhs to 5 lakhs a year, depending on how much of an experience you have. Like, for example, you could be somebody who has 6 months of experience as an intern. You will still be counted as, say, in our language, we call it L0. So in our company, we have different levels. L0, L1, L2, L3 goes till L7.
Right.
So L0 are the people who are at entry level. So for L0 in my team, there are anybody who has less than 1 year of experience. It could be 0, it could be 6 months. So we have a range of salaries depending on at what stage that person is. If they have done an internship or if they have a very good portfolio through practice, then we don't count them as pure fresher.
Okay.
So if you have built a very solid, impressive portfolio, I will not look at if you have had job before or not. For me, what matters is how good is your work at this stage, right? So that's the range. So you can be on an average you can be expecting to make between 3.6 to 5 lakhs depending on how much of a hard work you have done already.
And what will be that 10 years down the line?
10 years down the line, as I told you, right?
Yeah.
I'm aware of people making 2.4 crore a year with 15
in India.
In India.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy because I think those people bring in a kind of a value which is very rare to find.
Right.
And with somebody with that kind of a rich experience, they are going to be invaluable for any company they work with, and they are going to drive a hell lot of revenue, right? So somebody as a business owner, if I'm paying somebody 1 lakh rupees a month as a salary, for example, I expect them to bring a revenue of at least 1.8 to 2 lakh rupees a month, right? Because that margin is so. When we calculate profit, it's not going to be only limited by the money I pay to the person as a salary.
Yeah.
There's going to be infrastructure cost.
Yeah.
Just I think 2 years ago, I happened to come across the electricity bill.
Right.
And we have this, and the older office was around 4,000 square feet area. 8 AC units, cassettes, and sub-electrical, this thing. The bill was 75,000 rupees 1 month, right? Then you have cost for... So in our business, we have delivery functions and non-delivery functions, right? So delivery functions are people who generate direct revenues. Non-delivery function are the people who don't generate revenue, but they are supporting, like people like me. I can be counted as a non-delivery function because I'm not actively working on a client project.
Yeah.
Right? My time is not getting invoiced, right? So, but I also have a cost to the company. HR has it, recruiter has it, admin has it, the valet has a cost, right? All the costs combined, right? So even if I say that I'm paying 1 lakh rupees and I'm getting paid 1.8 lakh rupees, that's not my actual margin. That's not my net margin, right? My net margin is going to be even lesser. Right. So if I am spending money to pay salaries, I want to make sure that there is enough return, which I can sustain.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you simple mathematics. A client to whom I charge 1 lakh rupees a month, next year the contract will renew, and the client has agreed for a 5% increment, for example. But I need to give 10% increment to them.
Right.
Or 20%, 50%, 100%. If somebody has got an offer, I may have to double the...
Right.
So my cost is always going to be increasing, right? The revenue may not increase at that pace. And that is where we were talking about how we should look at profitability at an account level. You may not be able to make profit at every individual level, right? So with somebody at 10 years of experience can be making between, if they are worth their salt, they can expect themselves to be making anywhere between 30 lakhs to, as I said, upwards of 2.4 crores, depending on what role they are playing.
So now you run a company. So what are the skills companies are expecting in a UI UX designer? When you told us communication skills and how you can stand out, what are the other skills and how can people learn that skills?
Since we are a digital transformation company, we look at somebody who has experience working with developers and PMs and the larger team very closely. The way we look at design is that it's not an isolated skill. For us, a good design is going to require designers, developers, PMs, testers. The entire squad is what matters, and everyone is responsible for design, right? And that's the key differentiator that we bring. So when we go out looking for people, we look for people who have skill in collaborating with cross-functional departments, right? And see, skills around, say, knowing Figma, design, that's obvious. People can find it anywhere. But there are few unique skills, right? How accustomed you are, especially if you're an experienced designer, working with front-end developers, back-end developers, project managers, product owners, iteration managers, like CEOs, CTOs of the company. And if you don't have that skill at a senior level, then we would not get you.
Right.
It is as simple as that. At an entry level, we look for somebody who has the basics covered in terms of they should know the tools. I don't want to hire somebody and teach them how to use Figma, right? Or basics of prototyping.
Yeah.
That is a homework that you can do, right? You should not rely on your job to teach you that. So there's something I keep telling junior designers in my team, people I mentor also. Your job is, never look at your job as something that is going to really teach you something. Right? It is literally a 9 to 5. And that's the practical, for majority of people, right? For some of us, it is like, everything we learn is like, our life is also a job for us.
Right.
Right? If you're working 20 hours a day, everything is the same. So you can learn a lot after your job. When I interview people, one of the questions that I ask is, how do you ensure that you're learning? And I look at answers around what people do during weekends. What do they do after office hours?
Right.
So I've spoken with people who have told me things like, "Mujhe time nahi milta." I ask them, "Okay, what is your schedule?" I reach office by 9. I reach my home by 7 o'clock, and then like, "Okay, what time do you sleep?" 1 a.m., 12 a.m. I'm like, you still have 5 hours there.
Right.
Even if you take out 1 hour, right, and you're not married, you don't have life responsibilities. Still, at least 2 hours a day you can take out,
Right.
Weekend, the entire weekend is yours. See, if you are expecting growth, you have to go above and beyond. It is as simple. You can't be like, I'm entitled for this salary, I'm entitled for this opportunity. No, right? So, at an entry level, make sure that you have your skills in order, your tools in order, and I will work with you to make sure that you're successful.
Right.
I will give you the right projects. I'll give you the right mentorship. I will expose you to incrementally complex problems. Right. Once you start, you'll not be thrown in the ocean expected to swim. When you start, I will be with you, beside you. I'll be doing your work. I will make you watch me. But then there will be time when I'll move out, and you are supposed to be owning it. Right. And that happens gradually. And the way we have built our team's culture is, we strongly believe in mutual growth. Right? If you are a designer who's working in my team, you're my boss. I
Right.
report to you. That's the mindset we try to bring in.
Right.
I need to make sure that I am thorough in my commitment and communication with you before I expect you to communicate with me well. Right. And that's a very big cultural alignment that we have to work very hard on.
Right.
Because people don't come from that background. People come from background, of where, say, the boss is telling them, I need this screen by end of the day today.
Right.
Design the social media banner for me. Right. That is the culture majority of the designers come from.
Yeah.
So when they are exposed to this environment, it is completely new for them. They are like running around like a headless chicken. They don't know what to do and what is happening.
Right.
Because we believe in having people own what they are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the second thing we look for. Are you able to take ownership of the work that you do? And I'm very fortunate to have people in my team. So we have this strict 8 hours work policy.
Okay.
And we are proud of it. This is going to be the 10th year of our company. And we have been known for work-life balance. Right? I would work on the weekend on your work. I will not make you work on the weekend. Right? So very rarely we will have people going beyond 8 hours or working on the week. Very, very rarely. And we seek everyone's permission. Like in some cases, I ask people, "Yaar, idhar fata pada hai. I need your help. Can you do me a favor?" And if they say no, I respect it. I don't push. So that's the culture we have built, right? And that is because the people who work with us have high degree of ownership.
Right.
Right. And that ownership starts with how you educate yourself. So when I ask you in the interview, what do you do to learn beyond your job? And if you tell me my current job is not letting me learn things outside, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Right. So you're not taking ownership of your own career.
Yeah.
That is where it starts.
Yeah. It depends upon person to person कि उसको exponential growth चाहिए या he's comfortable.
Correct, exactly.
If you want exponential growth, there is no balance.
There is no balance.
You have to put in the work. Saturday, Sunday भी काम करना पड़ता है.
Correct.
So okay, now let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
AI में अभी बहुत ज़्यादा चल रहा है कि AI will replace coders, website developers and all these things.
Yeah.
So what is your thought on it?
Personally, I think it is too early to make any definitive statement. What I do see, what I am saddened about is the fear mongering that is going on right now. And I do understand. See, we are designers. We think psychology all the time. One of the most important emotion humans have since the cave ages is fear. Right? You make people afraid of something. Right? If you control fear, you control the emotional reaction. Yeah. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people, and in fact, people from design community as well, making use of it.
Right.
AI is here to take your job. And when you read the article is not talking about AI taking away the job.
Right.
But then a lot of us don't read the article.
Right. So they're doing it for make you to read that.
Correct. You go to, for example, YouTube. I think it has reduced, and I find it very funny. And not only in AI, I've seen it. For example, when cryptocurrency was picking up.
Right.
There was this thing where economies will crash. The traditional currency will not stand and whatnot. The underlying technology of crypto is excellent.
Right.
But instead, the marketing happened in a way where people wanted people to just click on the article, consume their content so that they could make money.
Yeah.
So that is what is happening. I believe AI is going to open up lots and lots of opportunities. In fact, you'll not believe, in the last, we are one of the first ones to start building capabilities in generative AI in India. So we started it the moment OpenAI came out, and we realized, okay, this is going to be excellent.
Right.
And we have hundreds of developers and a lot of designers who have been creating AI-based experiences already. So for us, it has opened up opportunities.
But don't you think it will replace entry-level UI UX designers? Because there is a tool, I was researching for this podcast, there is a tool called Galileo.ai.
Yeah, Galileo is there, UI
we can put in a prompt and that will give us a basic idea.
Correct.
But I agree on that fact that we will need senior people to monitor that, कि सही है कि नहीं है. क्योंकि हम directly client को तो वो नहीं दे सकते. But क्या junior designers भी रहेंगे?
See, so when we started the conversation, I explained to you how the world of design is pretty broad.
Right.
So what we do inside Figma or at a screen level is just one aspect of the work we do.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of other things that we do. Unfortunately, this one aspect is the most easy to understand as a consumer, and that is where a lot of us start. So yes, at an entry level, things are going to get difficult.
Yeah.
So people will have to focus on developing the other side of the thing, like getting better with research, getting better with, accessibility understanding, or just developing the ability to empathize with people as quickly as possible, right? And that is where a lot of skill is going to come in.
Yeah.
So as far as pixel pushing is concerned, I have no doubt that I don't see that happening anytime soon, for sure, because there's a lot of practical problems with that. So I don't know how closely you follow Figma, but they launched a feature called Figma AI,
right,
which is similar to Galileo.
Yeah.
You write a prompt and it will spit out certain styles for you. They train these models on existing data set. That's the whole funda of LLMs.
Yeah.
Right? The existing data set, how confidential is that? Is always going to be in question.
Yeah.
Right? If I am working in a cybersecurity domain, my entire Figma has the IP of my product. Figma is sending these files to their server,
right,
to make it available to some random person in, some other country. Like, I'm not comfortable with that.
right,
And that is why AI regulations are going to come.
Right.
People are going to, governments are going to be very conscious about how it is being utilized. So as far as designers are concerned, if you are a pure pixel pusher, you have to start getting better at rest of the design skills. Right? You don't have to move away from designers.
Yeah.
The design field. You have to stick to design field. In fact, it's going to get even more important now. Right. But yes, if you are a simple, copying screens from Dribble, Behance and whatnot, then you're gone. See, those people anyways did not have a lot of value. Right? Today, if somebody is presenting a design to me, I myself am a designer. I live in the same world they do. So if they have copied a design from somewhere, I know where exactly it has come from. So people who have the habit of doing that were never really valued anyway. Right. So I don't see a negative impact, like a net negative impact with AI on UX. I see it, in fact, creating a lot of opportunities. In fact, good thing is I come from a computer science background, so I do understand certain technical jargons.
Yeah.
I've started educating myself better in terms of ML, in terms of supervised learning, unsupervised learning, different ML models, how natural language processing works, how prediction works, how hyper-personalization works, right? And all of those things have parallels in our design decisions.
Yeah.
If I'm working on an e-commerce application, and if I understand AI and what AI can bring to the experience, I can guide the product decisions. I can tell them, these are the parameters we should be conscious about to hyper-personalize the content or the recommendation to the end users. Right? And again, going back to what we were discussing a few minutes ago, the example of going to a website and you're a Nike person, not a Puma person, right? So if as a designer I understand what AI is going to enable me to do, I can make those informed decisions.
Yeah.
And that is a tremendous value as designers we can bring in, right? So we need to start looking away from, screen-based experiences and get into strategic thinking, and that is where the real value is.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why our clients love us, and we have a very high retention rate when it comes to with clients, is when we partner with them, design as well as tech, we don't work with them in a way where you tell me what to do. We recommend things to them. Right. So we work as a true partner. Right. We tell them, okay, your competitor has launched this feature, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Right. And we can spend say 2 months to build a feature which is better than this.
Right.
As we don't rely on clients to always tell us that. Right. And as long as people like designers with that mindset, exec teams are there, design teams which are mature enough to groom their designers in that way, we are going to have a wonderful time.
So you mean that the people who are in their comfort zone के भाई अभी job मिल गया, अभी आराम करो, permanent job है, अपना job मिल जाएगा, they will be replaced.
Yeah.
But people who are keeping on upskilling themselves, जो नई चीजें सीख रहे हैं, उनको कोई effect नहीं करेगा.
Yeah, yes. I think people who have a very simplistic definition of what design does,
Yeah.
They are going to be affected by it. But that doesn't mean that they'll lose their job.
Right.
And that's my biggest problem with the marketing that I see nowadays. Right? It is not here to replace designers. If anybody feels that they're here to replace coders or designers, they have a very shallow understanding of what technology really includes. Right?
They can learn any another skill and get job in that sector.
As in within design umbrella, right? There are many different skills you can learn. Right? Why can you not walk the path of becoming a strategic designer?
Yeah.
And these are the people, by the way, who are making 2.4 crore a year.
Right.
They are not pixel pushers. They are not living in Figma. They are living in the business world.
Right.
They understand the connection between, say, as we were discussing, right? India, the consumer itself, the end consumer itself does not have the economic state to spend, right? Or say, as simple as tipping people.
Yeah.
Our culture doesn't have habit of tipping people. I've tried tipping people at restaurants and they have not accepted money.
Yeah, in some restaurants it's not allowed.
They don't. But if you go to cultures like US or Europe, you'll find that as a very common.
Yeah.
Because there people are in that economic state. We are not there yet.
Yeah.
So that culture adoption is yet to come.
So now let's talk about business. ठीक है, अभी मैंने UI UX सीख लिया, मैंने प्रोजेक्ट भी बिल्ड किया, I have done my internship, but मेरा पहले से माइंडसेट है मुझे बिजनेस करना है. So let's say मैंने एक छोटा एजेंसी स्टार्ट कर दिया. I have 2-3 team members. So how do I get my first initial clients?
Wonderful question. That is precisely the path that I have walked on.
Yeah.
So I'll use the experience that I have. There are many different ways to solve this problem. I will again rely on the way that I have experimented with. Initially, I worked on as many conceptual projects as I could. I redesigned WhatsApp. I created a digital resume app.
Yeah.
Right. And this was again 2012. Native mobile apps were at peak. Right. So everyone was looking for mobile apps. So that's where I started. I would design the whole night, right? Code the whole morning. That is how the life was.
Yeah.
So if I was restarting again, if I send myself back to 2012, I would do precisely what I did. I would get into churning out as many projects, conceptual projects as possible. Push them out on platforms like Behance, Dribble, LinkedIn. Behance was the platform through which majority of our revenue came from in the initial days, right? Majority of our leads came from there. We have of course moved away from it,
right.
But if I was starting in 2012, I would be doing the same thing. I would churn out as many conceptual projects as possible, package them well, design them well, visually appealing, aesthetically good, push them out. Be as frequent as possible. Focus on volume initially.
Yeah.
Don't worry about quality. Quality will come with time, right? Quality is not something which you just wake up and come up with.
Right.
You have to go through the grunt work to reach the quality level. I would first of all focus there.
Yeah.
Push out as many case studies as possible. And when I receive a business inquiry, I should be responsive. I remember we got a very good client, very large client. This was 2014. And he sent an email at 1:30 a.m. in the night. And within 5 minutes, I responded. And we got the business.
Right.
And he's still a very, very good friend. I really, really love. Unfortunately, we don't work at a business level, but we are very well connected at a personal level.
Yeah.
I meet him every time in Bangalore. So, the first meeting I had, he told me, Chandan, I emailed 5-6 other agencies. You were the only one who gave me a response in less than 10 minutes.
Right.
I have quotes which are lesser than what you're quoting me. And he showed me the emails. Right? He was not bluffing or lying.
Yeah.
But I am going to go ahead with you just because of the fact that you're responsive. Right? So we responded, we engaged, we worked really well. We worked on multiple different projects with this particular person, right? So I would be again very responsive. I should not say, if I have woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning, if I had fallen asleep.
Yeah.
Then and if I see a message, even today, if I see a message, and if I've woken up to get a glass of water in the middle of the night, if I see a message, I respond. Right? And a lot of time you don't have to send lengthy responses. You just have to acknowledge, hey, I got the email. I'll get back to you in next 5-6 hours. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? The person on the other end will learn that you're responsive, and that is the first step towards building trust. Right? So I would churn out projects. I will be as responsive as possible, and initially I will focus on providing as much value as I can. If you have asked me to do 100% of the work, I will do 150%.
Yeah.
Because I am the needy person.
Right.
Right? And that's a very important distinction that we need to understand, right? If I'm starting up right now, I am the person in need.
Yeah.
I cannot command, my terms. Right? It is always a buyer's market.
Right.
Right? So I would focus on that, build connections, build relationships. I will reach a stage where I can comfortably at least hire an intern whom I can pay at least 5,000 rupees a month. At least, right? If I have close to zero revenue, that is what I will do. Because as I said, never make anyone work for free.
Yeah.
Right? So get that person, make sure that over a period of time, that person is at least 50% of your skill sets. They will not be, nobody will be 100% of you. Right? You are never 100% of anybody else. Right? Make sure that they are able to groom them, train them in a way that they are at least 50% as efficient as you are, or quality level. So whatever your parameters are. And then get more people.
Right.
Initially, for a few years, if you're starting up, make sure that your family condition, your financial conditions are supporting you. If they are not, then it's going to be emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? It will be very difficult mentally. See, entrepreneurship, it fucks people up mentally. It is crazy, and people don't realize
safety, there is no security.
There is no safety, there is no security. You can get into legal trouble if you're not, thorough enough. You can screw up relationships. If you have raised money from your family or friends, you're gone.
Right.
And good thing about running an agency business or a services business is that they are ultimately cash cows.
Yeah.
See, your growth may not be exponential. You may not be able to generate, $100 million revenue in 2 years, right? But then you will be profitable.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long game.